This conference will now be recorded.
Let me think. Let me think because yeah,
It is
yesterday I was out. Yeah, I was outside. Let me.
one
What
day
we
one
talk?
day gap also dangerous.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, but yes, 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 yeah. But we stayed in a car, so yeah, so protected.
Hey,
Yeah.
protected is it is previous day. That is not on day before yesterday. Day before yesterday, we are not discussing as a protected. That is
Okay, okay.
so something I started. I think you forgot abstract.
Oh yes, yes. Okay, okay. Yes, yes.
Then
Abstract.
I
Yeah.
just recall it now. Right now, I just now recall it. Even I forgot what
Yes.
we discussed. So
Abstract. Yes. Mm.
yes, I told you right. I was handling three batches. So what happens? I will be in a confusion state, right? So I don't know. I'll get some after some time only. I'll get a clarity. Okay, this was the topic here. So it will be different for all the batches, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, in abstract, and uh, I think you got the clarity. I think have given some a small recall that what we discussed. Abstract is a keyword that you use to the class as well as a method. And when you declare a method as an abstract, where you will not write the logic for that method, right? And who
Mm.
is going to write the logic for this method? You are remembering it, right? All this again.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I remember. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
So
We
who is
talked.
going to write?
We
Yes.
talked about
So
the abstraction. Yes.
yes. So who is going to write me the logic for these abstract methods? Mike?
Okay. Yes. So who will write the object? It's the
Logic for the abstract methods.
yeah, logic. So logic for the abstract method will be write from the I think in the child class you can write, right? Child class, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So
You basically you override, right?
yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I still remember a little bit.
Mm.
Yeah, but yeah, it's difficult actually. Like because I think that like for a lot of like IT stuff, you need to like practice like day by day. Otherwise, you will forget
Yes, yes,
everything.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
like
yes.
I was like I think I was familiar with VB script when I was doing some coding, like in
Okay.
using like a QTP. You know QTP, right? UFT.
I heard, but not much
Yeah,
familiar
it's
with.
not because yeah, it's like QA, like automation tool. It's like synonym. Yeah, but
Okay,
after a while, I didn't use it and I forgot everything.
okay, okay. So it's right for not only for Java, for everything you need a regular practice. So initial stage, so when you are, for example, when you're not, when you're new to that technology or that thing, you need a lot of practice on that actually. So more kind of
Yes,
examples,
yes.
or so at the initial stage you need it. So once you are good with the concepts, when you're trying to learn a new thing, also it will not take much time for your mind to adapt it,
Yeah,
right? If
yeah.
something, so I think it's whatever it might not maybe the Java, but whatever the technology it is.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
So I think this is the initial stage that we are learning a Java, right? So more practice on more actually. As I told you, so I cannot able to tell you more coding actually. So what I suggest you is nothing but go to the coder sites like HackerRank you have. So there are example is a HackerRank. So you have many coding sites where you can improve your coding knowledge. So it is not only for it will helpful for testing as well as in further for you also.
Yes,
So
yeah, sure.
so, for example, when she discussed an abstract concept, and the same concept will be there in your mind for 2 or 3 days, right? So one day you may remember more, right? So in that day, the same day, please after completing that concept, go for more programmings on that. So it makes what you understand is nothing but makes you to understand more on that. So for example,
Yeah.
when we cover a lot of 5, 6 topics, and when you start practicing that, you may find some gaps, but doing every day will be really good actually.
Yeah. Basically the only site like I was using is the the what's that W3 school.
Okay, W3. So it is very basic, Mike. So you have many other sites for Java. So W3 is also schools is good, but I think you will have a basic things there. So it's so for more coding and packages, you can use this HackerRank.
Can you text me which one? I don't know which one you talk. HackerRank?
You just type in. Yes. When you type in a
This
Google,
one?
it comes.
Like I don't know this one.
HackerRank.
First time I heard of. What this one? What's this?
Yes.
You can practice code online, or what kind of?
Yes. What you just go to the site, you may get more clarity. So what they do is nothing but they will be having, so for example, for each and when you have there are a lot of things, even you can go for testing also. So for example, when you go selected as Java, you will have all the topics listed in the Java, and they, for every topic you will have specific program, they will give some requirement and ask you to do the coding. So after you perform the coding, you just execute that. So they'll find out, they will run the test cases and see, okay, what are the things that are good, what are the things that are bad. I think as a tester, whenever you write a program, you will be checking the lot of test cases, right? So that gets generated and they will be seeing what is good, what is bad. So there are a lot of things in it, inside that. So you just
Okay,
go and
I will check. Thank you for the information. And it's free or it's like paid?
it's free. So if it is a paid, I will not be suggesting in the chat box itself.
Okay, sure. 1 million practice code skill, prepare for interview and get hired. Oh, I see. Something like that. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you just visited that. Fine.
Let me bookmark it. Yes.
Okay. So not only you have a lot of sites codes. There are a lot of sites code big. So you can just go and experiment them online.
And there is like a IDE how to say that, like embedded. You don't need to like let's say you don't need to download the Eclipse to after
No. So you write the code in their platform itself. It's just like an ID.
They have a platform, everything. You just write the code.
And you just write it there itself, and you'll execute there itself. You don't need any special things.
I see your point. Okay, I will take a look sometime. Yeah.
So in this case, we have an abstract class, and what we have an abstract methods, right? So who is going to write the logic for this M2 and M3? Your class, child class, which implements this abstract class. So now if you see, child one is extends your abstract ext3. So this class is responsible of writing your M2 and M3, but you have, unfortunately, this M2 don't know the logic of that. And what happened, your child 2 extends your child 1, and now you're in this you need to write the logic. Your child 2 will write the logic. So I think I have showed the same program to you, and we have executed this, right? On the day before yesterday. And I asked you, given different scenarios, and done that. So this is what a good abstract, right? So we have a similarly, like abstract, we have some other concept that is nothing but your interface. So in an abstract class, what you have, you can have a normal methods, but in case of an interface, you are not allowed to write a normal methods. So there is only abstract methods will be present in your interface. So I cannot able to write a normal method. So for example, if I'm trying to write a normal method, it will throw me an error. So if for example, if I'm trying to write a normal method like this, so this is nothing but my non-abstract method, right? So where I have open brackets and close brackets. So this will throw me an error. So you're allowed only to write the abstract methods. But in case of interface, what is so in case of abstract class, you can write a normal method and you can write an abstract method, right? But in this case, as per Java 8, if I am trying to write a normal method, it will show me a comparator. So what you are supposed to write? You are supposed to write only the abstract methods where you don't have the body and the logic. So he is going to write the logic for this will be your child classes. So for a abstract class, what you do, you extend it. For an interface, what you do, you implement it. So class B implements your class A. the same concept. So there what happens, in that above case, your in abstract concept, the class which extends has to provide the logic for abstract methods, right? So similarly here there is a class B which implements your A. So now this B is responsible of writing the logics of your M1 and M3. So this is not there. This is M2 is a compile timer. So now your P is responsible of writing the logics for your M1 and M3. So this class A can be implemented by another interface also, another class. So class also I can have a class C. So that also implements your class C. That also implements my A. Here, what this C has to do, it has to override the methods. What are the methods? Your M1 and M2. And if it's not overriding any one of the method, it will show me an error. The same like your abstract class concept. But the difference is nothing but you just do implements here. For an interface, you do implements, and this is the way you declare an interface. Interface, that's the interface and name of the interface. And you can see that. So if you see, this is my interface.
Yeah, it's a class interface.
It's an interface. Interface is not a class. So there is difference between interface and a class. So you see the syntax looks similar to the class. So whenever you declare a class, what you do? Class followed by the name of the class. Whenever you declare an interface, you just write interface followed by the name of the interface. Right? So interface.
Interface, it is interface.
So for interface, I can give any name. For a class, you can give a class has also a name. So for interface, I give an interface exe. So exe is nothing but an example. So I can given a class name as nothing but my interface example as a class name. Sorry, not a class name, that interface name. You got my point, Mike?
Yeah.
So this is an interface, and the name of the interface is interface exe. Right? There is a difference between your class and interface. So your interface will contain only the abstract methods. So your M1 and M2 are nothing but your abstract methods. Assume that if I'm trying to write a normal method, it will show me an error. So this is my sorry. So
okay. So now, so in this code, now you only have one class, BC, right?
No, I have another class also have BE.
Oh, okay. BE, yeah. Okay, you have BC, BE, and test 3.3.
Yes. So if you see, what I'm trying to do, I'm writing a normal method where I have a body, open brackets, closed brackets. So if I'm trying to do what it is showing me an error. So, but in case of abstract, it is not like that. So interface is very restricted. It is made only for abstract methods where you do not have any logic. Abstract methods do not specify a body. It means directly whether if you don't write it as an abstract, by default it will take as an abstract. So for example, I'm not writing an abstract for M2, right? But I'm writing for M3. Both are same. So by default, it is allowed in only an abstract method, right? But in a class, it is not like that. You need to specify that is an abstract method. If you see, I am writing void M2, and if I remove an abstract, it will show me an error. So it will ask me to write an abstract keyword because your abstract class may contain normal methods also. That is the reason you need to write an abstract keyword when you are writing an abstract method in a class. But that writing an abstract keyword, it is not mandatory in case of an interface. So in case of an interface, whatever the method that you write, it will be an abstract method because there is no chance of writing a normal method. methods in an abstract in an interface. So your interface will always contain abstract methods. So that's the reason writing that keyword is not mandatory. You write or don't write does not make any difference. The
So
method,
it's only contains abstract method.
yeah, exactly.
It
It will
can
not.
only. It
Yes,
can only. Okay.
yeah, it cannot contain a normal methods like normal concrete methods where you have a body. But in case of an abstract, it will have, right? It will have both kinds of methods. So I will tell you, when you go for abstract, when you go for interface, what is that need? So you understood this concept. What is an abstract? What is an interface? You understood, and what is a real-time example? Why we are using this? I'll tell you. Right? Once you get this interface clarity, I'll tell you that.
But I don't know why we need the interface.
I'll tell you. Even I have not told you what is the purpose of abstract also. So you may get a doubt. So why I need to declare a method as abstract here? Why I need to override it? Why I need to write a logic over here? Right? So I'll be making the doubts very clear within few.
And what is implements? It's like reserved keyword for Java, right? For Java implement.
Yes, reserved keyword which is used to implement your interface. So extends is also a reserved keyword.
So it used along with the interface.
Yes. So yes, whenever you want to do implements, so implements is a keyword they have given it. So its name is indicating, right? So I am implementing that interface. It means this class is going to write the logic for that interface. So this is nothing but a keywords, extends, implements, they have given it. So they have given extends for a class level. So whenever you extends an abstract class, you do child, you do it extends. So for a class, you use extends. For interface, you use implements. But in both the cases, both the cases, your BC is a child of interface exe also. You can say that BC is a child of interface exe, and B is also a child of your interface exe.
I don't agree. Like, how can I say? Because BC is a class, right?
Yes.
But the interface EX is not a class, in my understanding.
Yes, it's not a class. So child in the what I'm so child in the sense it is like not exactly the child that whatever we discussed, right? So it is not exactly it will get property and not in that sense. But here what I'm telling in a sense like here your class is will has to implements that. So why I'm telling that child, you get more clarity when I do this dynamic polymorphism and static polymorphism. I'll tell you this, so you then get a more clarity. It is not exactly like a child, but like a child. That's right. So it is like, so because there is no properties that will get from the interface to the class, right? So your interface is not having any properties, right? So whatever you said is right, Mike. You cannot consider that as a child, but my sense of telling it child is nothing but this BC is following what interface is given, right? So for example, your interface will give some methods, some logic, right? So that will be followed by your BC class. You got me, right? So in that I'm telling it as an interface, right? And why I generally need this interface or abstract class is assume that for example you want to design an app. I think you have an idea of Make My Trip app, right? Make My Trip. So an app which is an dashboard which is used to show the flights and book the flights. You have an idea of that kind of app, right? Any app.
Yes.
Yes. So for example, yes, whenever you want to travel from place to place, right? From New Jersey to New York or sorry, New Jersey, New York City. So from place to place, right? So from Oklahoma to somewhere, right? So in this case, what you do, you go to a thing and there will be an app or somewhere where it will show the flights, right? So for example, you are trying to design a Make My Trip app, and you have a method called show flights. So does your database, Make My Trip database, will have the flights data or the timings or the destinations? Is that will be having?
You mean the website?
Yes. So I just want to design an app. So that is
Mm.
Make My Trip. So
Mm.
so in Make My Trip, when I click on show flights button, I should be able to see what are the current available flights right now from this place to
Mm.
from
Mm.
X to some Y place. I just want to see what are the flights available, right?
Mm.
So
Mm.
whether this information is available in Make My Trip app, in database
Mm.
or Make My Trip, is it there? This flights information will be there?
Yeah, it
No,
should
right?
be there.
No, no,
Why?
no. No, in the sense they are not authorized of saying the flights. They need to call some airport authority, right? So they will tell what are the flights available. So as a developer, I cannot. So I'm a user and a dashboard. What I will show, I'll request that airport authority and I will get the flights from them, right?
Mm.
You are getting. So the flights information will really will not be with me. I am the dashboard, I am the developer. So here what is the app responsibility? So this API will call some other API, some other airport authority. So airport people will have the flights available from this destination to destination, right? So airport is some other uh, uh, database. Airport will have some other database where they will store that flights information, and they will retrieve and they will send to you back as an API, right? As an information, right? So you don't have anything. So whenever you book any uh, movies or some book my show, there is some apps over here. So whenever you see something, there is a dashboard, they don't have any information. So what they do, they simply call some other API who is responsible for that. So for example, when you want to show the flights, so who is responsible? So who knows that airport authorities, there may be, they know that what are the flights available, right? So they should call the that method, that particular API to get the flight. Do you agree with this?
Yeah, yeah.
You got.
Now I got your. I think I got your point. Like when you search for the flight information, it like for example, like your flight website, you need to call the API to other server to retrieve the flight information from the third party database, right? That's your point.
Yes. So yes, other party API, a application, other party, other
Yeah,
application.
yeah,
Simply
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I got it. Yes, yes. You need to
so
like. Mm,
so I have an interface, something like Make My Trip. I'm taking Make My. Uh, I'm not saying that it is not exact scenario. So I have something like Make My Trip. So this Make My Trip will have, so whenever you want to go, so you should show the flights, right? So it will have a get flights method. So this, what is this get flights method? It should be an abstract method. Why it should be an abstract method? Because they don't know the flights available, right? So get
mm,
flights or get some timing, flight timings, okay, or any other get so at current time what are the from destination to, so there are maybe a lot of requirements. So I'm just taking two things, so get
mm,
flights or get timing. So these are the abstract methods which are available in Make My Trip. So
mm,
because they don't know the logic, they don't know what are the flights, they don't have the database of flights, right? So in this
mm,
case, this is nothing but your interface, right? And
mm,
in API, so whenever you want to declare when design a flights app, an app which shows the flight, so you should need an call to flights, right? So that flights method is an abstract method, right? And I'll be taking a class something from airport end. So this assume that this is a class which is available at the airport end. So class some airport information, some airport, some class I'm taking. So what I'm taking implements my Make My Trip. So I'm not telling this will happen. The flights will not do this, but I'm just trying to explain you the interface concept, right? So here, what this flights will do, it will override that get flights method, right? It is going to override that get flights method, available flights, and what it will do, it will write the logic of this get flights. You got my right? So for example, you have an airport at some MSD. So MSD is a place, right, in US? MSD, ORD, these are the places, right? Mike, are you there?
Yes.
MSD is a place, right?
Mm.
USD. In USA, MSD is a place, right? MSD, ORD.
I don't know that.
Okay, okay. So assume that MSD is one of the place in US, right? Or somewhere. So what this will do, it will override this flights method. Okay, you are from Canada, right?
Yes.
Okay, I thought you are from. Okay, you can take some place at your end. I don't know much. So some class airport, some ORD. Assume that ORD is one of the place. So implements my make my trip. So what this will do, even this will write the logic of this port, right? Get flights, get timing, sorry. Right, it will connect to the database in MSD, and it will show what are the flights available from in the MSD, that particular place. So here what it will do, it will be airport implements make my trip, and it will similarly override that methods void flights and as well as timing. And it will be connecting to the database, and it will be getting the flights available here, right? So similarly, all other classes will also do. So here what you are getting, what you are declaring as an abstract method, because whenever you don't know that logic, you declare that method as an abstract method. So because this app or something will don't know the logic of this flights, right? So that's the reason you make that as an abstract method, and you write that logic, that some particular API, right? So who is responsible of getting the flights will implement that, and you're writing a logic. So basically interface is like an API where it will contain some abstract methods, right? So that will be implemented by lot of other classes, right? As some more similar example like this, I don't know. So in our place, place, we have an RBI, like Reserve Bank of India. So the Reserve Bank of India is the head of all the banks that were available in our place. So here, like you may have ICICI Access, so maybe some international banks, I don't know. So there are a lot of other banks I have. So for example, that RBI will be setting some rules, right? Whenever you want to establish a bank, it will set some withdraw, deposit, some kind of rules will be set by an RBI interface. So that RBI don't know what is the logic that bank is going to implement it. But whenever you want to establish a bank, what you need to do, you need to make that implements that RBI. So in that sense, I told you as a child, right? Implements that RBA, and it has to provide the logic of that particular method in it. So I can take something interface RBA. Is that making sense, Mike? Are you getting confusion or fine?
Yeah, I got the point.
So assume I'm taking as an RBA, so which is the head of all the banks. So whenever you want to establish a bank, you need a method called void withdraw. Some withdraw I need a withdraw method, and but I don't know the logic. So I need one more method, is nothing but I need a deposit method. So I'll just do that in an Eclipse, fine. I have taken that as a class, but I'll make that as an interface. So if you see, I have made it as an interface. So I'll be writing some methods like so these are the minimum things that a bank should have, right? Deposit and loan. So these are the abstract methods that are the rules that an RBI has given it. So whenever you want to establish a bank, I need to have this functionality, right? So, but it will not enforce that logic. So what is the minimum amount of withdraw, how you deposit, how you do withdraw? So your API will not tell. But any bank which has to be established, it has to override, it has to implement your RBI and has to override this method. So for example, I have a bank called Access, some bank, Access Bank. So what it needs to do, it has to implement my RBI. And I think you will also have at your place some other, for all the banks, you'll have one thing which is head, right? So here it will do withdraw and it has to withdraw some, it has to do some deposit even. So why that error is because I need to write it as a public. I'll tell you why I need to write it as a public. So once there is some concept that I have made it as a pending and access specifier. So after discussing that, I'll tell you why I am writing it as a public. I have not explained you that accessibility rules. So assume that this access bank in a day I can just do withdraw per day. Assume that I can do withdraw of 10,000, something like that. Some 10 USD something, 500 USD that I think, right? Here also I may have a withdraw, so deposit of something like 100 USD. So, but it will not enforce you to write what is the logic for deposit, what is the, but you need to have this specific withdraw and deposit method should be present in your app, in the particular bank, right? So if I'm not doing that specific method, it will throw me an error. If I'm not doing deposit or if I'm not having withdraw, it will throw me an error, right? So the logic may different. So you may have another bank, something like class HDFC. So this is from other bank. So which is like implements here RBI. Right here also what it has to do, it has to override that abstract methods, and but it is not required that the same logic. So for example, the withdraw here it may be different, right? So it is not required that it has to be 500 USD, it has to be maybe 600 USD. There may be some. The same logic will differ for deposit also. So deposit you can do something like 120 USD something dollars. So this is clear, right? So, but why you need this interface is to define some abstract methods. That abstract methods will be implemented by the other classes. So here, like airport authority, whatever you see that examples. So you don't know the logic. Here also your RBI don't know the logic. So whenever you don't know the logic, you make that as an abstract method. But some other class will implement that. So that class has to compulsory do that overriding of that particular methods. So you may get it out when I need to go for interface, when I need to go for an abstract. So whenever you don't know any logic of that particular method, right? So you go for interface. So it's an API where I don't know the logic. For example, in make my trip, I don't have any other method where I have where I need to uh, uh, show have some logic. So then I'll go for interface. But in the same make my trip, assume that I have some methods to be written that should have some logic. So in make my trip app, I should have a method where some app where some logic is required, right? Some that show color or something. So color, so some method, maybe color or anything, some I'm taking an m1 method, so where you need a logic. So make my trip also will have its own methods, right, to display some logic. So then in that case you cannot take that as an abstract. Sorry, that in that case you cannot take that as an interface. In that case you take that as an abstract, right? So why you take it as an abstract? Because whenever you have a methods, you have some methods where you don't know the logic. In the same API, you have a method where you know the logic has to be written for that particular method. So then you take that as an abstract class. But there is an API where you don't know the logic of any method that is available, right? So in that case, you take that as an interface. Is it that clear, Mike?
Yeah. So one question. So when you take when you take if you want to take as interface,
Yes.
so in that class, the method in the class. So in that case, you don't know the method in the class, right? You need use interface.
When you take it, you don't know the logic of that method in that interface.
You
When
don't
you
know
don't
the
know,
logic
when you
in that method. Yeah, that's the question, because you must know, right? Like it's your code. But so
no, no.
in that case, you the only way I think you need to copy code, copy the logic into the list method in the class. That's I thought like that way. No.
No. I'm talking like, for example, you may have you taken a class or so it may be the class or interface. So I have an API. I'm taking class or a interface as some API or something. So I have a requirement. So in that requirement, I don't know the logic of any methods available. So for example, if I'm taking a make my trip, in make my trip, uh, uh, so in make my trip app, so for example, you don't know the logic of the flights, right? Because I don't have make my trip app does not have the flights data. So for getting the flights information, it has to contact the airport authority or someone who will get the flights for that, right? So you have a method called get timing, right? So for that also, what are the flights timings, you don't know, right? Then it has to call that some other API. So these methods for sure as an abstract methods. So but assume that you have some method in make my trip where you need to write the logic inside that. For example, make my trip, what is the color or what is the font size of that, and how that app should be designed. Assume it some so internally showing the booking status. So what is your status? So this status, you're booking it from make my trip, right? So what is the status? You have the status thing. So what is the status of booking? So assume that this is the logic status of booking. So assume that there is some logic they have written it. They want to write from their end this logic, right? So then you cannot take that as an abstract method, right? So whenever you want to have that logic, right, in that case you cannot go for interface. In that case you will take that as an interface. You will not, sorry, when you know when you want to write some logic, in that case you will not, you cannot take it as an interface. In that case you take it as an abstract method. But when you don't want any method in that class where you have to write a logic, right? For example, I just want this show status, booking status should be also there from airport end. I want to declare, I just want that airport authority only give that logic. What is the booking status? Then what I'll do, I'll declare that also as an abstract method. So when I declare that as an also an abstract method, and when you are not having any requirement of writing a method where it has a logic, in that case, it is not required you to write that as an abstract. So in that case, what you take that as an interface. It is like when you want to take what? When you take as an interface, when you don't have, because your interface will not allow the normal methods, right? When you have a requirement, like you don't want to write the any logic of the method, you want to write some you just want to make it as an API where it will have an all the abstract methods. You have a requirement, I'm just making it as a complex, but simple thing is you have a requirement, I don't want any method logic in there, then I'll take as interface. I have a requirement, I have some abstract methods, I have some methods where I need a logic. In that case, I'll take it as an abstract. That's it. That's a simple thing. Because your abstract will contain both normal methods as well as an abstract methods. So that's the reason I'll take when I have a requirement that I need some methods logic to be written in that abstract. In that case, I'll take that as an abstract. When I don't need, I'll take it as an interface. Is this clear?
Yes, I understand I understand your concept, but my the issue for me, the point is because even like because like in my mind, even you use interface, right? You still need to write the logic in your code, right? You still like you using let's say you create interface make my trip, and you have to create a class, let's say airport MSD, right? Implement make my trip. So until here, I agree with you. And then I have to write like a void get flight method, right? Okay. In this case, so this is like interface make my trip, and then like because the concept is you don't know the logic. You don't know the logic inside void get flight method, right? Here you don't know the logic. But the thing is, when you write it, your code, you need to execute it. So if you don't know the logic, how do you write this this code in this part? Like that's why what I got confused.
I'm
you have
trying
to write the, if you don't write the logic, how do you run the program?
Okay, you are telling that both, for example, this and this was done at same end. You're thinking that, for example, this was
it should be
was
because because you have to. The point is what's the difference in this content? Yes, like your causal at. If
yeah, you can ask, you can continue the question.
Yeah. My question is here, like what? Because for me, there is no difference for abstract or interface, because in here the causal here, you have to write the code, the code in for that logic, right? If you don't write, how would you run it? Otherwise, I think the only thing here, I think in my mind, it should be different code. If there is a case, I think I think in that case, if this is not abstract class, it is an interface. Let's say make my trip. So in my understanding, so here void get flight this method here, you should write a different code compared to if it's an abstract class. That's what I thought. If you should write something like API call. That's my understanding.
Okay. Your understanding is good only, Mike. Not. You're asking the right way only, but I am telling you, take this as an example, right? So both the things may be done at the same end, but so I am just making this as an example. This is not the real-time scenario will not have these things, right? So for example, if you are doing this by both the end, so but what happens? So for example, I just want to get the flights. So the get flights may not be, so for example, you want to get the flights from different locations, right? So assume that the user has entered MSD some from one place to one place. So what you need to do, you need to get the flights only from that particular place, right? So for example, user has entered the flights from X to Y, right? So what I need to do, I need to get the flights from X to Y only. For example, the user has to enter from Z to some U, some Z to some X. So then I need to get the flights available from this to this place to this place. Do you agree with me, right?
Yeah.
So for example, whenever I just want to enter the flights from X to Z, what I need the object of this airport MSD, right?
Mm.
Assume that because MSD is the place where I will have the flights information from X to Z, right? So for
Mm.
example, the user enter from Z to X, I need to call a method called, I need to create a class called uh, MSD. Similarly, I think I have written ORD, some airport ORD. So if you see, there is an airport ORD. There's an RBI, it comes over here. In real-time application, you generally will be doing it at one place only. But what I told you, I just compared you this to make you as a real-time example, and I'm telling you because in a real-time example, I'm just trying to compare you with the airport authority. In real, I'm just trying to compare like this code class airport was there at airport end, class airport ORD is there and there end. So I'm trying to convince you in such way, to understand you in such way, right? But in real time application, you may do it in one place only. So you have a airport ORD. So this object has to be created. The method which is present in the get flights has to be called whenever you want to get the flights from Z to X. So similarly, in an application, you will have lot of classes which will implements your make my trip, right? So this is the parent of all the classes. So based on the user input, what we do, we create this object. So for example, the user has inputted from X to Z, X to Z.
Mm.
We create the object of, we create the object of your airport MSD, and we'll call the get flights. For example, user has inputted the flights from X to, sorry, Z to X. What we'll do, we'll create the object of this, right? Some Z to Y or something you can take. So then what we'll do, we'll create this object because this flights method has to be called, right? At
Mm.
runtime, we'll dynamically change the objects. So to change the dynamically the objects, I cannot hold with the this. So, but what I can do, I can hold with make my trip and I can get it. So for example, I'll take a class test. So I want to tell this in the next tell, but if you take, so I will take a class test. I assume that I have a main method over here. And so for example, I just want to get the flights from MSD, right? What I need to do, I need to do airport MSD, and I need to create new airport MSD. So if I call MSD dot get flights, which flights will be coming for me? Only the flights that are available in an MSD, right? So similarly, that travel from X to Z in MSD, right? Similarly, if I want the flights in ORD, I need to do the same. So, but in real-time application, you cannot hard code this and you cannot do it, right? Every time you cannot write MSD ORD and you cannot do it, right? What it will do? So assume that I'm taking it as ORD. Get flights. So this will give some particular flights, this will be giving some particular flight. But at runtime, we don't know what the user is going to input. It is not only two, you may have hundred of places, X to Z, Y to Z. So at runtime, you don't know what is the place that user is going to select it, right? So in that case, I cannot able to hold. For example, if you create MSD object, you cannot hold with ORD. If you create ORD object, you cannot hold with MSD. So what I'm telling, I cannot able to do like this. MSD ORD equals to, I cannot create MSD because there is no relationship between your MSD and ORD, right? So in runtime, you cannot do this. So what they do in runtime, what happens? You will take that make my trip interface object reference, and what you do at runtime, for example, the user enters MSD flights. So what it will do, you create MSD object, you dynamically pass this object. So you will not hard code it, dynamically pass this object. And what do you call? You call e dot flights. So before case, if you see in MSD dot get flights, which method will call? It is going to call the flights method that is present in your MSD. And if I in the above case, if I see new ORD and get flights, so which method will call? It will be calling the flights method which is present in your ORD, right? So at runtime, what object you create and what you call, that only getting called, right? And you want different flights. So in that case, what you do, you hold the object with the parent. That is your make my trip. That is your interface. So now what you done, you holded the reference within interface, and it dynamically what you do, you create that objects. It may be new MSD or new ORD, whatever the objects that you have, you dynamically create that objects and you call e dot get flights. So if I call e dot get flights, which method will call? Will call the flights method which are present in your MSD. For example, if I am creating the object of ORD, so I'll do this runtime. And if I call the get flights method, what will do? It will call the get flights method at the ORD. So here I am going to change. Only here I'm going to change the object. That object I'm going to pass. So what based on the user input, that particular object I'll be creating and I'll be calling that particular get flights method. So here that is a in real application you use the interface concept in this way, right? So but to understand why I need an API, I just told you like this is at my trip app end and this is at your airport authority end. So to convince you like that, I'm just taken this example. So when you even I'll try to give some more examples so you may get more clarity in this. So better you just even go through with some of the tutorials what is an interface and some examples, so that also makes very good clarity on this topic, Mike.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'll with this so you get more clarity actually. So is it fine
Yeah.
up to
Sure.
this? Are
Mm.
you okay with this up to now?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Sure. Yeah. I will check something and then we can discuss tomorrow maybe. Yeah.
Okay. Can we wind up the class? It's
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
of
Sure.
today.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So it is better that you just go through this concept again, so we may get some more clarity in tomorrow's class. And
Okay.
this what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you static binding and dynamic binding, and these things which are very very important.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you. Same to you.
This conference will now be recorded.